When a disgraced royal walks onto a talk show stage, he expects some controversy, but he doesn't expect to be ambushed. Prince Harry thought he was here for a serious conversation. What he got was an interrogation that burned hotter with every question. Across from him sat Kevin O'Sullivan, a journalist known for his razor-sharp tongue and zero tolerance for pretense. The air in the studio was cool, the lights calm, but what unfolded in the next 20 minutes left the audience speechless and social media on fire. Harry entered the set in a tailored navy suit, jaw tight, shoulders squared, but a distant look in his eyes. His entrance was met with light applause, more polite than warm. This wasn't a royal fan club. Kevin greeted him with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Your Royal Highness," he said, voice smooth as silk and twice as sharp. "Welcome. Let's get real, shall we?" Harry forced a smile. "I'm happy to be here." The first few minutes were civil enough. Kevin asked about mental health advocacy, new docuseries, charity work, safe ground. Harry spoke calmly, if a bit rehearsed. "I've used my platform to shine a light on hidden struggles, to tell my truth," he said, hand steepled, gaze steady. But then Kevin leaned forward. Smile gone. Tone shifted. "Let's talk about privacy," he said. "You and Meghan said you left the royal family to escape media intrusion. But here you are, again. Cameras, interviews, book deals. What part of that says privacy?" The smile vanished from Harry's face. His voice cooled. "There's a difference between wanting privacy and reclaiming your voice," he said. "I control the narrative now, not the tabloids." Kevin tilted his head, tone mocking. "Convenient, isn't it? Privacy when it suits you. Publicity when it pays. You don't think that's a bit hypocritical?" Harry's jaw tightened. "I think the hypocrisy," he said slowly, "is sitting in that chair. You people feed off scandal, then act outraged when someone fights back." The audience murmured, tension rising. Kevin didn't blink. "I suppose fighting back includes throwing your own family under the bus?" Kevin pressed. "You've accused them of racism, neglect, emotional cruelty. Do you ever wonder how they feel? Or are you too busy playing victim in front of global audiences?" That was the first real crack. Harry's nostrils flared. His eyes darkened. "I don't owe you or anyone an explanation for protecting my wife and children," he said through gritted teeth. "If they didn't want to be called out, maybe they shouldn't have treated us like dirt." Kevin's eyebrows raised, arms folded. "So they're monsters, and you're what? The hero rewriting royal history." Harry laughed once, sharp and bitter. "No, Kevin. I'm correcting a history that was written wrong from the start." Kevin picked up his notepad, scribbled something, then looked up. "Speaking of rewriting history," he said, "you're still the Duke of Sussex. You still carry the title, enjoy the perks. Private security, exclusive events, insider connections. But none of the responsibilities. Don't you find that convenient?" Harry's voice turned to ice. "I've earned everything I have. It's not up to you to tell me how I live my life." Kevin smiled, shark-like. "Oh, believe me. The public's already told you. And it's not a pretty review." The audience tensed. The atmosphere had shifted. No more diplomacy. Then came the grenade. "Let's talk about Meghan," Kevin said casually. "There's a pattern, isn't there? Staff walkouts. Family estrangement. Lawsuits. At what point do you admit maybe she's part of the problem?" Harry went still, then leaned in. "Leave my wife out of this," he said, voice low and lethal. "You don't know her. You don't know us." Kevin raised both hands mockingly. "Touchy. But fair question, right? Everyone's asking it." Harry scoffed, running a hand through his hair. "Everyone? You mean gossip merchants like you? Feeding the world poison and calling it journalism?" Kevin leaned back, lips curled into a grin. "Poison? Or just inconvenient truth?" Harry stood abruptly. His chair scraped back. His voice dropped to a growl. This was a mistake. Kevin, still seated, looked up with a smirk. "No, Prince Harry. This was honesty. Something the palace never prepared you for." Without another word, Harry turned and walked off set. The cameras caught every second. The silence that followed was louder than any insult. Kevin looked into the lens and said simply, "Ladies and gentlemen, that was Prince Harry. Make of it what you will." Social media exploded within minutes. Clips went viral. Opinions clashed. Some said Harry was ambushed. Others said he finally got the grilling he'd dodged for years. One thing was certain: royalty doesn't guarantee respect. And under the lights of the Kevin O'Sullivan Show, even a prince can get scorched. When Prince Harry sat down across from Kevin O'Sullivan, the audience expected fireworks. What they got was a full-on inferno. The studio lights burned soft overhead, but the tension between host and guest was molten. Harry looked calm, on the surface. But beneath the carefully neutral expression, the storm had already started. And Kevin, he wasn't hiding his intentions. He had a pen in one hand, questions in the other, and he wasn't letting his guest off easy. Then came the spark that lit the fuse. Kevin leaned in. "Pathetic," he repeated with a sneer. "At least I didn't betray everyone who loved and supported me for a Netflix check." The crowd gasped. Harry sat back, his lips compressed into a hard line. His nostrils flared. His fists curled into tight, silent fury on his lap. Kevin casually uncapped his pen, tapping it on his notepad, like he was daring the prince to explode. Harry didn't take the bait, yet. Instead, he crossed his arms and smirked faintly, though his jaw pulsed. "Is this your idea of journalism, Kevin?" he asked, voice low and icy. "Or are you just a bitter old man jealous of everything I've built?" Kevin's laugh came slow, dry, and cruel. "Oh, Harry," he said, his smile withering, "you haven't built anything. You burned bridges, and built a bonfire with the ashes." The audience buzzed again. Someone in the back whispered, "Wow." Harry's fists clenched tighter. The royal mask was slipping, fast. Kevin flipped a page in his notes, unbothered. "Let's move on, shall we?" But the calm had shattered. Everyone in the room felt it. The tension was thick enough to slice. Kevin leaned over his desk now, eyes gleaming. "Let's talk about your choice to leave the UK. You called it an act of survival. But what about the people you left behind? The Queen, working into her final years at 96. Your father, stepping into his role without his son at his side. Your brother, carrying the crown's weight alone. Did you think about anyone else? Or was it always just about you?" Harry let out a sharp, joyless laugh. "You think you know," he snapped. "You don't know anything. I did what I had to do to protect my family from an environment that was killing us. And if that makes me unpopular," he added, "so be it." Kevin raised an eyebrow. "Ah, so it's everyone else's fault. The palace, the press, the family. Never your decisions. Never your actions." Harry leaned forward, voice sharp and angry. "You weren't there, Kevin. You didn't hear the conversations. You didn't see the looks. You didn't read the headlines that stalked us every day. So don't sit in your little chair pretending you've got the moral high ground." Kevin chuckled. "Well, I might not have been there, Harry, but the rest of the world watched you. On Oprah. In your podcast. In that best-selling memoir." He paused. "You've told plenty of stories. The question is, which version do we believe?" Harry's nostrils flared. His voice dropped to a hiss. "You twist everything I say, just like the rest of your pathetic industry." Kevin didn't flinch. "Speaking of which, let's talk about Meghan." The audience braced. Many royal staff described her as, what was the word? Difficult. Dozens of aides quit. Reports of shouting. Tears. Even bullying claims. "How do you explain that, Harry?" Harry's eyes darkened instantly. "Lies," he said sharply. "All of it. Smears crafted to protect the institution and tear her down." Kevin didn't blink. "So, everyone's lying. And only you two are telling the truth." "Exactly," Harry shot back, without hesitation. Kevin tilted his head, pen tapping quicker now. "That's convenient." Harry rolled his eyes and leaned back, visibly trying to rein himself in. "You wouldn't understand loyalty if it slapped you in the face." Kevin smirked. "Oh, I understand loyalty just fine, Your Highness. But I also understand something you seem allergic to, accountability." Harry laughed bitterly. "Don't talk to me about accountability. The monarchy is a masterclass in dodging it. Everything is smoke and mirrors to keep people like you distracted, while lives are destroyed behind palace doors." Kevin leaned forward, dropping the hammer. "You've accused your family of racism. You've implied your brother leaked stories. You've said courtiers were cruel. But you've never named names. Never shown proof." Harry's hand slammed down on the chair's arm. The audience jumped. "Because I'm not going to destroy people's lives just to entertain vultures like you." Kevin calmly folded his arms. "Oh, Harry. You've destroyed plenty already." Harry pointed a trembling finger at him, his voice thunderous. "You're crossing a line." Kevin didn't flinch. "Funny," he said softly, "you crossed it the moment you turned your family into content." The audience gasped. Harry stared at him, hands trembling, his entire body rigid with rage. But he said nothing. Kevin let the silence stretch for a beat, then struck again. "Let's address the elephant in the room, shall we?" The crowd held their breath. "There are already whispers, rumors, of trouble in paradise. Strain in your marriage. Distance. Separate appearances. Some say you've realized the cost of everything you left behind. And that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't worth it." Harry stood. Slowly. Deliberately. His voice was ice. "You know nothing. And I don't owe you or anyone else the truth about my marriage. You sit there pretending to ask questions, but all you want is blood." Kevin raised his eyebrows. "No, Harry. I want honesty. And the truth has a way of making people uncomfortable." Harry turned and walked off set. No goodbye. No final word. Just the sound of footsteps echoing through a stunned studio. Kevin looked straight into the camera. "Well," he said, tapping his pen one last time. "That was Prince Harry. The man who wanted to tell his truth, as long as no one questioned it." The moment Kevin leaned in and asked, "Is it true? Have you and Meghan separated?" A silence fell over the studio like a dropped curtain. Prince Harry's entire body stiffened. His expression froze mid-breath, his eyes locked on Kevin with disbelief. For a second, it seemed like time stopped. Then came the shift, the clench of the jaw, the darkening of his gaze, the flare of his nostrils. His voice was low, controlled, but every word vibrated with fury. "How dare you?" There was no anger in the tone, it was rage disguised as restraint. "How dare you bring that up?" Kevin didn't even flinch. His reply was calm, cold, unapologetic. "It's a fair question. You've made your relationship part of the global conversation. You sold the fairy tale. Now the public has the right to know, has it ended?" Harry shot to his feet. The legs of his chair screeched against the studio floor like a warning siren. "You're disgusting," he growled. "You've been disgusting this entire time." Kevin's smile didn't reach his eyes, but it widened just slightly. "That temper of yours, that's the real you, isn't it?" Harry pointed a finger at him, nearly trembling with restrained rage. "You know nothing about me. You're just a bitter, angry man who's built a career throwing stones at people who actually lived something." Kevin leaned back, voice still calm. "Better to throw stones than to throw away everything and call it bravery." The studio was dead silent. No camera click, no whisper. Just the sound of Harry breathing heavily, nostrils flared, fists tight. Kevin straightened the papers in front of him like he was bored. "If you can't handle the heat, Harry," he said smoothly, "you're welcome to leave." Harry leaned forward, eyes blazing. "You think you're a journalist? You're nothing but a bully hiding behind a desk and a microphone." Kevin didn't blink. "And you're just a prince hiding behind excuses." Harry yanked the microphone off his lapel. The wire whipped as it hit the floor. His hands shook with fury. "I'm done. This interview's over." And with that, he turned and stormed off the set, his footsteps echoing down the hall. The audience sat frozen. Kevin calmly turned to the camera. "Well, ladies and gentlemen," he said with a faint shrug, "Prince Harry, still running." Then he added, almost as an afterthought, "We'll be back after the break." But even as the commercial began, the cameras didn't stop. Behind the scenes, studio staff scrambled to smooth over the chaos. Harry's voice could be heard off-camera, still sharp, still fuming. He paced furiously, exchanging clipped words with his aide. But Kevin, still in his seat, still tapping his pen, still unmoved. The crew whispered. The audience glanced nervously toward the door. Was it really over? Was that the end? And then the door burst open. Prince Harry returned. Face flushed, fists clenched. He stormed across the floor, yanked his chair back into place, and sat down with force. "Let's finish this," he said coldly, glaring across the desk at Kevin. Kevin arched an eyebrow. "Oh, decided not to run after all." Harry sneered. "I'm not running. I'm just not letting you smear me without a response." Kevin leaned forward slowly, voice sharpening. "Then let's pick up where we left off. You left the royal family claiming it was for your wife's survival, that the institution was toxic, unlivable. And yet, you've never stopped cashing in on the connection. Book deals, speaking tours, multi-million-dollar Netflix specials. Isn't that just a new kind of monarchy, one where you crown yourself?" Harry's jaw tensed. He leaned forward. "You have no idea what we endured. We didn't leave because we wanted to. We left because we had to. The palace was a cage with a velvet curtain." Kevin shook his head slightly. "And yet, you profited the moment you walked out of it." Harry's laugh came out bitter and hollow. "You people are all the same. You don't care about truth. You don't care about the pain. All you want is a headline, a scandal. You feed on it." Kevin cut in, firm now. "What I care about is honesty. You want privacy, but you crave attention. You want respect, but you publicly trash your family. Do you even hear yourself?" Harry stood again, this time towering over Kevin. His voice came through clenched teeth. "I earned my right to speak. I lived it. You just sit in a chair and take cheap shots because you're too insignificant to matter." Kevin, still seated, looked up and said calmly, "Better to take cheap shots than to cash in cheap sympathy." A gasp rippled through the audience. Harry's fists balled at his sides. "You're pathetic." Kevin's tone went ice-cold. "No, Harry. What's pathetic is expecting the world to bow while you tear everything behind you down." "You think you're exposing me?" Harry shouted. "You're just exposing yourself." Kevin didn't miss a beat. "People might actually listen to your story if you didn't deliver it like an entitled child." That was it. Harry's face turned crimson. "You don't get to talk to me like that." Kevin leaned back in his chair, perfectly composed. "Apparently, I do." Then, quietly, deliberately, he gathered his papers and said, "One last thing. There are rumors, credible ones, that your marriage is already cracking under the pressure." "Care to comment?" Kevin O'Sullivan asked, his voice low, deliberate. That was the spark. Prince Harry froze. A flash of disbelief and raw anger flickered across his face. Then, through clenched teeth, he spat, "You disgusting little man." Kevin leaned in, unfazed. "So, you're not denying it?" Harry stepped forward, his voice like a blade. "You don't get to talk about my wife. Not one more word." But Kevin didn't flinch. "I'll take that as a no comment." And that's when Harry snapped. With a thunderous slam of his palm on the desk, the studio fell into stunned silence. He yanked off his microphone, tossed it violently on the table, and stood. Kevin remained seated, calm, almost smug. "Leaving already?" Kevin said. "Typical." At the edge of the set, Harry turned back, fury in his eyes. "You call this journalism? This isn't truth. It's ego dressed up as ethics. You can keep it." With that, he stormed off, but it wasn't over. The cameras cut to commercial. When they returned, Kevin sat alone, twirling his pen. Tension crackled in the air. And then, he came back. Harry burst onto the set again, unbuttoned jacket flaring, his face red with rage. He didn't sit. He loomed over Kevin, fists clenched. Couldn't resist one last word? Kevin asked coolly. Harry leaned in. You think you've won something here? All you've done is prove why people like me don't trust people like you. Kevin raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Harry's voice trembled with emotion. You twist every word. You mock trauma. And then you call it accountability. It's not. It's exploitation. Kevin's smirk faded. You want to talk hypocrisy? Harry snarled. Look in the mirror. What you do isn't journalism. It's theater. It's cruelty. And it's beneath me. The room was silent. You could hear a breath drop. What would you call it, then? Kevin asked, his voice quieter now. Harry straightened, fury simmering. I'd call it custaholic. A sickness. Tearing people down to feel powerful. Harry ripped off the backup mic, dropped it with a metallic clatter, and said, I'm done. You got your show. But never my respect. He marched off, the slam of the studio door echoing like a gavel. Kevin turned to the camera, voice cold. Prince Harry. A man who demands respect, but offers none. But Harry froze at the door. Slowly, he turned. And you, he said clearly, will never know what it costs to live through what you mock, until it happens to you. Then he was gone. Kevin exhaled slowly, stacked his papers, and gave the camera a ghost of a smile. Well, that was spirited. We'll be back after the break. The audience clapped awkwardly. The credits rolled. But no one in that room, or watching from home, would ever forget what they'd just seen.